Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. Hopefully you guys can hear me. Everybody can hear me. Hopefully. Shout out to you guys. I can hear myself on the other screen. Let me get a little intro going so we can get started. Now, while we get this intro going, give people some time to get in here. Please hit the like button. Here we go. Okay. Can you guys let me know if you can hear me? My sound okay? Let me know. Testing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Can y'all hear me in the chat? Testing. The hair is a little crazy today. Can y'all hear me? Let me know. The chat is typically slower. Hold up. Let me see what you guys are saying. You sound, but yeah, the reason why I sounded so off is because my mic was all the way up there. Okay, perfect. All right. And thank you, Chico, and everybody that gave me the heads up. Tinkle Tits as well. All right, let's get it together and let's get it running because I lost some sleep last night trying to binge watch this situation. Okay, I really did. And I blame everybody here in the chat. Okay, I blame everybody for y'all letting me binge watch this whole thing. Okay, I can. Me, you. I. Me was like, I can hear you. Can you hear us? I can definitely hear you in the chat. All right. Um, you like this picture of Michael Barnett? Okay, I'm gonna start by saying this. There's definitely gonna be a spoiler alert, a lot of spoiler alerts here on this video. So this video is mainly for those that have actually watched the series. If you don't care, you're like, whatever, give me the spoiler alert, then hang out. And maybe that'll convince you to watch it, or maybe not, whatever you want to see, however you feel see fit. But I'm gonna give you guys some spoilers because I feel like it's only fair for me to be able to really dig into it. This is not to I'm not being paid by HBO or Discovery ID or anything like that. I watched it, so I'm just gonna talk about it. And if you haven't seen it, please go watch it. Don't get mad at me if I spoiled it for you, okay? All right. Um, where do we start? Okay, so for those you waiting for season 3, shout out to the SP Squares. Like I'm waiting for season 3. You haven't seen it, but I guess emotionally invested at this point. Tinkle Tits. DVS says, I can't stand his face he makes during the whole interview. I figured he'd be the perfect person. He could be my co host for today. He can make all of the expressions that I want to make throughout the whole video or the series. So, give you all the spoilers. All right, we're going to do that. So the best way to, for those that have not seen it that are wanting to know, you could catch it on, I think, Discovery ID Plus. I watched it on HBO Max. That's where I watched it from. And then also HBO Max offers a free trial. So if you like just want to have it for like 7 days, I think, then you can unlock, or, whatever, you won't be charged for it. You could try that too. That's how I watched it. But Discovery ID, because people were saying in the chat, I don't have Discovery from where I'm from, or HBO. Try Discovery Plus. That's another way to get to it. Okay. Okay. You haven't watched it, but won't? All right. So, for those that, let's do a little bit of a recap. So, we did season one yesterday. That was the first time I had ever seen season one. Season one really tells the side of the Barnetts, specifically Michael. This is where you get to see all of his faces. The other way. This is where you get to see all of his faces. He's very much a made for reality TV personality. I guess that's how I would say it. He starts by talking about how they came about with Natalia. Himself and Christine Barnett, had money. Their finances were great. Had a child, what looked to be like a child prodigy in the family, although we find out that that's not really the case. Had a lot of money, and Christine was essentially running like a daycare for special needs kids or something at their house while Michael was working. So they decide, well, we really want to do some good in the world. We've been blessed. We're going to go and adopt a child. This child by the name of Natalia, she had already been adopted by another family in the U.S. From Ukraine. And so she had already gone to another family. That whole situation is a bit sketch because allegedly they were saying that they were trying to sell her. They had other potential families that, in my opinion, could have met Natalia's needs as well. They share similar characteristics of the disorder, or that Natalia had, which is the dwarfism, right? So they were very well versed in how to, care for somebody like Natalia, the many surgeries that she would have needed. So the first season really starts from the Barnett side, and specifically Michael telling his side. And then you have the oldest son, Jacob, telling his side. And then you have neighbors telling their side. And then you have family members telling their side. So there were different parts to this first season, right? I personally felt like the first season, I thought, there were some triggering parts, very sad parts to it, but it didn't really paint a clear picture, especially with the documentary being called Natalia Speaks. You find out that really Natalia speaks on season two. That's really when we heard about Natalia, right? Season two was where we're hearing about her side of the story. So I binge watched season two last night, all 6 episodes. And I will say, if you have not watched it, just know that there's a lot of triggering parts. There is a lot of disclosure of abuse that comes about. There are other professionals that speak about it as well. You have a legal analyst and commentator by the name of Beth Cross. I think that's her name, who kind of interjects and evaluates the interaction that both Michael and Natalia have. So in season one, we saw an interaction, at least an attempt to interact between Michael and Natalia. It didn't go well. Michael, did the I'm done, I'm out of here. The whole dramatic reality TV shit where they take off their mic and they walk out of there and they're never coming back. That shit is just pathetic to me. Because I just feel like I get the sense that a lot of this is made for reality TV, but underneath all of this, there's an actual story to be told about a young girl that her childhood was taken away when the re-aging process happened for her, the abuse, emotional and physical abuse of this child. And somehow I just came out of there thinking, like, what the fuck, especially in season one with this man here. I just couldn't stand him. Um, in season 2, Natalia gets just, say her piece. She talks a lot about in depth about the abuse. We get this picture of the fact that, a lot of what happened in the Ukraine is very sketchy. She doesn't always remember everything, but she knows and she's aware that something happened to her in her childhood, potentially involving sexual abuse. Okay, SA. Um, and then it leads on to her interaction with Christine. There were certain parts in there that really got to me, specifically when she was trying to make her wear a tampon, um, as a young little 7-year-old girl, forcing her, trying to force her to do different things, and the bystanders that kind of sat there and just allow it to happen. Michael being one of them. And especially in season 2, I wanted to grab my shoe and throw it at this guy. I don't know how, and this is just me. I get that this is made, like, they made it for TV, but if you're gonna have a girl that's telling her story about how much the abuse had happened to her, and then this grown man have a meetup together, there really should have been a professional to mediate that. Because what you're not going to do is not be held accountable for the bullshit that you sat there and saw happen and said nothing. Nothing. Beth Cross called it deflection. She said there was a lot of deflection in there. Michael's deflecting in this when Natalia's trying to ask questions and hold him accountable. No, 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 no. It wasn't even deflection. It was flipping the script. I don't take away from the fact that Michael might have been victimized in the marriage, but we're talking about the fact that this girl was a young child and this man sat there while they were trying to re-age her, knowing that she was a child. I cannot get away from that. And the fact that they couldn't get a professional mediator to figure that shit out, the conversation, the communication really just took away from that whole situation for me. I said, this is ridiculous. This is really a show. That's what it is. And it bothered me because as a professional that has worked in the field, you just don't do that. You don't do that. If you're really for the best interest of this young girl to telling her story, then make sure you got the right people in her corner, because that interaction was not it. It was not it. Let me take a sip of my coffee. So let me think back. We get to learn a little bit about Natalia's biological mother, um, which I wouldn't put it past her. She probably has her own trauma as well. But I'm going to tell you guys something, and I feel like I wasn't really surprised. I'm not going to go to the end yet, but I'm going to say this. Very early on in the second season, they told us, and if you paid attention, at least for me, I picked up on this right away. They were throwing a lot of diagnoses out. One of the diagnoses, before they even said it, immediately I knew was going to be RADS, reactive attachment disorder. I knew that that was going to be a diagnosis right away. Part because of her attachment. I know that Natalia spent a good portion of the time trying to discredit the things that people said that she did or didn't do. Okay. However, to me, it wouldn't surprise me if Natalia wanted to kill her and hurt her, adoptive parents, whoever it was, whether it was the Barnetts or the Sacconis or whoever she was with before. It wouldn't surprise me. It wouldn't surprise me to see a young little girl, 6 years old, 7 years old, 8 years old, with a knife next to a bed, to say, like, if there was any truth to that, it would not surprise me. I would actually find it fairly normal. I hate to say it that way. But when you have a trauma history like Natalia, her bonding is not there. It wasn't there when she was put in the orphanage. There's a lot of studies out there that talk about how kids in foster care and orphanages for a long period of time, when they need to have that time to develop that bond with their parent, that is typically taken away. And so what do? They shut in. Okay. They're hard as a shell. And anytime you get close, they push away. There's a control issue. What's mine is mine. That's how they see it. And so it wouldn't surprise me that Christine, who already had an agenda to use this child as a poster child to be this intelligent child, right? It didn't work out for her because she doesn't understand the psychology behind rads. She didn't understand any of that whatsoever, right? So to me, when I hear that a young kid who has been in foster care for many years, as well as anybody coming from an orphanage, immediately that's a red flag for rads. It just is. Okay. So they started throwing all these things out. And as I was listening a little bit to her sharing just some of the things that, you see a young woman crying there saying, why didn't they love me? Why didn't my parents, protect me? Why, like, what is it? Why did they adopt me? Why? I mean, why, right? I kind of have to sit back and wonder, was there ever a thought or an attempt to really try to parent her, understand her? Because they went from professional to professional, and I'm trying to find out, like, when did it ever come to them that this might be something out of their scope? Just because a child is rads doesn't mean that they're a sociopath. Just because you have a sociopath doesn't mean that they're going to become a Ted Bundy. These are just common traits that people have to kind of address through therapy, talk therapy, equine therapy, different kinds of therapies, at the play therapy, different kinds of services that are out there to help with the situation, right? So I knew, watching the interaction with Natalia and the Mans. Okay, the Mans is the adoptive family. Let me see if I could pull up the picture. Okay, I'm gonna try to pull it up so you guys can see what I'm talking about. Right here. Is it this one? This family right here. Okay, I know that they meant well. It sounds like they have been foster parents before, but it is very hard when a child has rads to be in a foster home with 8 kids, and then they have that situation where they're having to address, number one, they want to control their environment, so sharing is going to be hard. They want their own parent. They're going to pick a specific parent that they want. There's a specific, there's just specific needs. So I had a feeling when the Michael's attorney, who I was not a fan of, but I completely understood where he was coming from when he kept talking about, there's this other side about Natalia that you guys don't know. She does this to families. She hurts this family and she moves on and she goes to the next. And, there's a commonality when Natalia goes to a family. This is what it is. What bothered me so much about, he's just being an attorney. Okay. He doesn't understand the fact that this young girl forever in her life is going to have this ongoing attachment issue. And it's not only going to affect her in her family where she's at currently, it's going to affect her when she gets into a relationship, if she has a boyfriend, if she gets married, if she has her own children. The problem is that she actually has to get herself into services, into therapy. Did she have rads? They alluded to that diagnosis. They give her a lot of diagnosis, but for me, that's the one that stood out the most. And it wouldn't surprise me if another person had called it out as well while you're watching this, because it's just markers of it. And I mean, I can read. I pulled the DSM definition of it so we can look at it. So this interaction right here, I had a problem with it even in season 1. I know that the Mans meant well. They have foster kids. They are a church family. They use prayer. I know that they meant well, but I personally feel like that the environment wasn't going to work out for her because of her trauma. Um, right off the bat. Yes, trauma changes adults, but when it happens in childhood, it's exponentially harder, to treat. Her brain needs to be rewired. I would agree with you. She deserves the help, and I hope she gets it. Absolutely. Seems this so many times when you have multiple conditions, you just get pushed aside and left at your own devices, which, little miss, isn't that exactly what happened when they put her in the apartment by herself as an 8-year-old little girl? They try to re-age her. The government, the court allow that to happen, right? Yeah, Vanessa, and I'm sure you said I'm not sure that the man meant well. You don't think that they meant well? See, and a lot of people felt like I just think that the man's just like the Barnetts, just like maybe other people. I'm not really sure, but a lot of people that adopt kids, their heart is in the right place. Don't get me wrong. But when you have a kids with RADS, like a child with reactive attachment disorder, it's a little bit different. It takes the cake a little bit different because um, you're going to be fighting. There's going to be control issues. It's just going to be different. You felt like for the mans, I always felt like it was a money grab. People have said that too. People have said that. Ooh, some people have said that the mans took in all these kids for money. Yes, CBT DBT helps childhood trauma like Natalia's. I would agree with you on that. And it's a lifelong thing that she's going to have to work through. It doesn't go away. It's not like 6 months of therapy and you're good. No, there is you're talking about like trauma that happened from when she was from the time that the parents were supposed to be protective of her and failed her at that time. Okay, it might have even started before she was even born in the womb. Like some people, there's a lot of studies that correlate with that, so we definitely have to be careful with that. That's what the Barnetts allege, that they got her food stamps and social security number. My thing is this, is that if the Barnetts didn't give a shit about her, like now everybody, like it's always got to be financial. So to me, I take it for what it's worth. To me, the Barnetts, like when Michael at the very last episode got in his little sports car with his little, let me be nice, looking like a wanksta, flipped over his hat, drove off to the sunset. All I need is an apology, and an apology is what I close with this. And drives off in his little sports car, goes away. As if that's how to close a chapter, right? As if I'm like, I want some lawsuits. I want some justice. I want something else at this point. Am I, Alyssa, am I lying? And for those that watch, he did look like I was like, this clown. I didn't get that picture, but this clown right here, literally, when he flipped, I could not, and I think that was the maybe the I wasn't sure if I was frustrated with Michael or Beth Cross at this. When they were sitting in that, they were having that conversation, and Michael turns his hat around, and he's trying to, I call her evil. We were fighting the same monster, and her name is Evil. I said, this motherfucker right here, you have got to be kidding me. This is why I said they needed somebody else to mediate that shit. Because if you really wanted this girl to get closure, she would have gotten the closure that she needed to a certain degree. Maybe not all the way, but to a certain degree. You said, I want to see the wings. Hold up. I could pull it up probably. Hold up. I'll look it up in a minute. Y'all are too much. Y'all are too much. But am I right or am I right? Like, this is why I said they needed somebody else to mediate that. Where is it? Was it this shit right here? This is him right here. Yep, it sure was. Let me show you guys. He had this like whole little red hat, red outfits, this whole thing right here going on. And I thought it was very, ooh, let me put this down. Closure is what Natalia wants it to be. At the end of the day, she is the victim of this. Don't get me wrong. She is the victim of this. But to me, like seeing scenes like this, you're absolutely right. He was intolerable. Seeing this shit right here, seeing how he flipped it, seeing how manipulated he was. I don't know. I hate to say it, but when I think of, I would imagine that this was a contentious marriage a long time ago. And I think that they both as manipulative as each other. I think that if this guy, one thing we learned about season 2 was that he's a liar, right? He lies. He lies, he lies. He and I'll give the people that created the documentary this. When he was answering questions, they went back to season 2 to see how he answered a question, and then they matched it up with his current answer, and what they noticed is that he changes the answers. He's a liar. He changes the narrative to see how it fits him. Michael knew so much information, and he still does till this day. Your refusal to answer the very basics of why did you adopt her, or why did you re-age her, or did you know the Saconis, or what was the relationship, was to me very indicative of this is a fucking waste of time of a meeting unless you can actually have a mediator that can truly pull through. Because what I was not okay with is, and they call the episode Trauma Bond. But let me be very clear. They don't have the same trauma, okay? They might have a perpetrator, but they don't have the same trauma. And I will say this, that Natalia can recognize that right away, and that's shout out to her for that, because she said he was complicit. They might have trauma, but they don't have the same bond. They are not trauma bonding like that. That is ridiculous. That was made for TV right there. And that shit really hurt me because I said this was a good opportunity. It could have been good TV regardless, but this was a good opportunity to really have gotten somebody in there. It was a fucking mess. Pebbles, you saw? All right. The majority of you guys have seen season 2 because it was irresponsible. Thank you. I sat there and I said, this is so careless, stupid, because regardless that we're going to get good TV, don't get me like this, it's sensational as it is. They were going to do it, but they would have done it better if they really had somebody, a safe person in between, somebody who has built rapport with both of them to actually be able to mediate them together. Yes. And I heard you're watching the ending now. Okay. I gave you guys a lot of spoilers, okay? You're either going to watch it or you're going to watch this review and be like, I don't think I need to watch it anymore. Um, let's talk a little bit about, you know, let me ask you guys a question for those that have watched it. Do you think it was fair that, like, would your mind change about anything if Christine was giving more commentary to this? Like if Christine was more available, would your mind change about this? Would you feel like I would see things a little bit different? It would be her side. What do you guys think? Let me see where you guys land. If Christine was available or made herself available to this docu-series, would it change the, I don't know if it's the plot or the story. I guess I don't know how to say it. Would it change things for you? For you. Let me see where you guys land. I want to know, where do you guys land? And again, that is if you watched it. If you didn't watch it, it probably won't. You said no way. All right, well, go vote. And while you're voting, please hit the like button, please, and thank you. I want to know where you guys stand. Let me shout out people before we go to the next part of my thoughts. Annabella, thank you for becoming a member. Thank you, thank you. CN Red Flags, thank you for becoming a member. And Jennifer, thank you for the 199, my love. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You said maybe you're not voting. The narrative, because Michael has his narrative, right? That's truly what I mean. Would it change things a little bit different for you, Nancy, if you have heard maybe Christine's side of the story? Because we're only hearing Michael's. Now, Natalia has her side. And to me, it's like that is her truth. That's how I see that. But Michael to me is sketch. I can't. You said you would dislike him more? Okay. It would have been interesting to see what she had to say, but I don't think it would have changed the mess. All right. Ooh, all right, all right. Okay. Ooh, well, look at the poll. All right. We got I'm gonna give it to maybe 60 votes. So far we have 50 votes. And if Christine was available to this docuseries, would it change things for you? 33% said yes, and 67% said no. Okay. All right. I mean, all right. So y'all have already made up your mind about Christine because we haven't heard her side. If Michael was given a side, I'm just wondering why can't Christine also be given a side? And I'm not talking about them. Like I don't see Christine sitting and mediating with Natalia. I hope that never happens. I think that there would need to be a lot of healing for that to happen. But Peter, they are both master manipulators. I think they are these two are the kinds that fed off of each other, you know? But I do believe I would like to hear a statement from Christine about every allegation that was made towards her because I do think that it might to me it's like Michael is painting himself off to be this person that was a victim of it all and he could have very well been the victim. I don't know. But I'm also not really like getting a lot of empathy from him. That last part where there was this prayer part and I think prayer is great. Don't get me wrong. I pray. Don't get me wrong. I think it was beautiful to have seen that from Natalia's side. But the jaded part of me, and I hate to say it this way, but it's the truth, felt like it was so self-serving for Michael. I know Natalia said that she forgives Michael, but to me, there was an injustice bigger that has impacted a community, has impacted the judicial system for allowing this shit to happen. There was a bigger injustice here that this man got away. He shouldn't have. He should be behind bars. He should be. hmm Michael deserves to go where Christine after she heads to the afterlife. Oh Lord, that's just how I see it. I personally feel like I don't know, and it's everything is one sided. So then in season 2, we find out that there's no such thing as a child prodigy from Jacob, right? She was creating the report cards, A plus on Arabic, A plus on making spaghetti with mom. Like she was homeschooling her child. So I guess, well, shit, if I can homeschool my kids, then I'll give them A pluses too. Who's checking, boo? I mean, really, who's checking? The educational system is fucked, and so is the judicial system. It's fucked, right? You can't get any justice in Indiana, and you can't even get you can get by just telling people that your child is an A plus cook in pasta, did great pasta dish with mom, as well as Arabic when they don't even own one book in any kind of other language. I sat there and I said, "You have got to be kidding me! This is the checks and balances that we have here in this country, I guess. I don't know. The re-aging. You tell me what loophole happened there. How did that happen? How do you get a little girl locked into an adult mental institution? How does that happen? And you've convinced that the professionals that are working there that she is an adult. She's sexualized, right? You know what was another interesting part of this docuseries is when she confronted the nosy neighbor. I sat there and I said, good for her. Good for her. She confronted the nosy neighbor. But I also sat there and was kind of like, damn, that's pretty like what was her name? Was her name Nancy? What was the nosy neighbor's name? It wasn't Nancy, was it? I forgot her name. She's so like she was kind of like the nosy neighbor that knows everything. I forgot her name. You're about to homeschool your kids. Valerie, just tell them that they get an A+ in quantum physics. Okay? And they'll pass. They'll pass. I'm just saying. I mean, you didn't like the nosy neighbor? What was her name? Now let me Google search nosy neighbor, and I'm not being mean on Natalia Grace. What was her name? Uh I forgot. That shit's gonna bother me. Here he is. Here it is. That is gonna bother me. Here we go. That was this confrontation right here. Orphan Natalia Grace confronts neighbor for believing she was evil. Do I look like a murderer to you? I don't know if it was her facial expressions to a lot of this, but I sat there and I said, wow. Okay, her name is Rachel. Her name is Rachel. Okay, so yeah, she was confronted. She was confronting the neighbors. You know who I wanted her to confront? I wanted her to confront her name Sue, the old lady, the older lady that was living in the apartments, who was like, she's definitely older. I don't believe she's a minor. Like, her face, she would not get away from that. What about how Christine tried to set her 9-year-old on a date with the adult? That was the other one too. How is she not charged with that? With what's his name? Freddie? Freddie, who was another who had, dwarfism as a condition as well. Christine tries to set up Natalia with older men on a date. Another form of abuse. Another form of, it's just, it was sad. I don't know, man. And I mean, at least Freddie said something about it. At least Freddie said this. And Freddie even alluded that this is what Freddie said. And people had said this as well. People said that Michael and Natalia had some type of but this was a rumor that Christine put out there, had some type of encounter, sexual encounter, something to that effect. Michael denies it. Natalia denied it as well, to a certain degree. Nothing happened that we know of. That we know of. But a lot of this is just not making sense to me. Ooh, Halls is 15 minutes behind. Says, oh, and thank you, B Tim, for the $4.99. Thank you. Halls says, I'm 15 minutes behind, but that Antoine Mans is in trouble for stealing money from his church. So I just thought that was an interesting tidbit. I didn't know that. I didn't know that. So now it all makes sense. Let's get to that last part, okay? When Michael drives around in his little, itty bitty Corvette, I think it's I don't know what kind of a car it is. Thank you for the info on Antoine. Where did you find that? I want to know too. Is it Halls? Not Halls. Hal. Excuse me. Hal 9000. Please, if you could tell me what resource or source said that he got in trouble with the church, I will definitely look that up. If you point me to the right direction, Hal. Thank you. Thank you. So okay. Let's get back to this part right here. Hold up. Let me see. Did I pull? There was this part right here that really got to a lot of people about. Oh man, my tab closed. Here it is. It did. Let me pull the DSM real quick. There was another part. Okay, so Michael drives off into the sunset in his little Corvette thingy, right? Or whatever kind of car he has, convertible. Drives off to the sunset talking about forgiveness and yada yada yada, and it was great, and he drives off, right? And it literally is maybe the 10 or 5 minutes of the docuseries. We get the impression that, okay, Natalia is getting ready for life. She's going to be doing great things. It's awesome, right? The last maybe 2 minutes of the docuseries, spoiler alert, if you have not watched it, this is where you want to click off. They put an insert, a screen in there that says that 2 months later, the producers got a hold of the Manns, the family that adopted Natalia, and basically said that they recorded a call where they said that Natalia is tweaking or is it tweaking or twerking? I gotta go back, but I think it was something to that effect, and that she's no longer welcome at the Manns household, and they were done with her, basically, something to that effect. And that's where it ended. And so then that's why yesterday people said, "Oh man, we're ready for season 3. We're ready for season 3." Tweaking. It was tweaking, not twerking. Yeah. So the very last part, in the recording, it says Natalia is tweaking. So it was just like, what? And it wasn't just Antoine Mans, it was his wife as well that was in that call. Tweaking, not twerking, tweaking. So they basically said that Natalia wasn't allowed back in the house. They had adopted her. They go through this process. They go, all this stuff, all the shows, everything. And the docuseries ends right there. That's where it ends. Then you have People magazine that talks about a GoFundMe that Natalia is trying to start to buy her own house. So yeah, this is where people felt like, oh my God, we are in a cliffhanger. Like, what happened? We don't know what happened. We don't hear any more from Michael or anybody else. Christine had no comment to the docuseries. Okay, that's where it's at. That's where it's at. There's more information out there, Rabbit, says Pebbles, about her using drugs or about her leaving the house and how things ended. Are you guys? Like I said, I was not surprised that it didn't work out. I guess that's what it is. Like, I knew that it wasn't going to work out when they threw out some of those diagnoses, and the one that stood out to me, especially because in a docuseries, you kind of have to understand where they're leaving us little hints and clues about what's to come. Natalia stabbing her family in the back over a complete lie. That's what I heard, Sarah, and I quote, "Thank you." Yeah, tweaking is also used when somebody freaks out. Thank you, Christine. What do you guys think? So she reports this. This is literally, is this morning? No, this was yesterday. Okay. Natalia Grace speaks on TikTok on the Bombshell docuseries. This is real. The docuseries subject whose story has been the focus of intense attention in now active social media. Natalia, the Ukraine orphan whose whirlwind life story has been the subject of 2 docuseries, is now on TikTok. Hold up. Yeah, she certainly is. And she's got 25.1 followers. 25.1K followers.
Do you know the Muffin Man?
The Muffin Man?
The Muffin Man.
Do you know?
I mean, what do you guys think? This was
Baby, light up my...
all right, but nothing really updating wise.
Okay, guys, let's see what this thing's.
4 days ago.
Hey guys, I just wanted to come on here real quick and tell you guys Happy New Year!
So, also note the Mans have a TikTok as well. It's fishy because there's more information that you'll be like, what, Pebbles? People have said, people have hit me up on the Mans, and they said that there was something's going on sketch there too, and I get it. I don't know what to make of it, other than I kind of knew, and I truly feel like I do hope that she gets her GoFundMe and she gets money to have like her own apartment and stuff, because I do feel like Natalia needs to work on herself now that she's an adult. She's an adult, um, by age. I do feel like she needs to have some her own person, her own therapist, work through some of these things, work through some of the attachment stuff. But that's the only way that she's truly going to be able to build good relationships, to address some of the attachment stuff and the control issues and different things. Like that's the only way that she could do it. And not just in the relationship with the man's, truly with if she decides to get married, if she does whatever she decides to do in her life, she's going to need to work because a lot of people have failed her, and she needs to be able to build healthy relationships and boundaries with people. Um, thank you so much, Lulu, for the $10. Thank you, love. It's really gross. She's an adult, but did she really learn how to be an adult and have the right guidance? No, she didn't, Pebbles. She didn't. Did the adoption mean that she has to live with the man's though? Let me tell you what is really weird to me about the adoption. Natalia is very smart. I picked that up right away. I mean, I'm not saying that she's like a G, she's smart. She understands what happened to her and she can verbalize it very well. I would probably say that, she can account various things, right? Um my concern is for her life skills. Like, can she hold a job? Is she able to work? If she's not able to work, how, can she survive off of whatever SSDI or, is coming through for her? Is there something that she can do to sustain herself, right? She wants help in purchasing a home. She did a GoFundMe. She needs help with that, right? So she's able to kind of go out there. My biggest thing for her is I know that family is very significant to her, but I don't know if that would be like if how do I say this? It's important for her, but is it necessary for her to sustain herself right now? Probably not. I think for her, if building her social supports would be bigger, like healthy relationships in the community. She would do just well if she had her own apartment now that she's an adult, and can work on some of those life skills. Have somebody check in on her, like a um, I think they call it what she's too old for a respite, but like somebody that can act like an aide that can actually check on her to see that she's doing okay, that she's getting her needs met, that she's in a home that she's able to navigate up and to and from. I think she can do very well on her own and continue to do therapy and work through that. I don't know why it was so important. The way they explained it in the documentary about her being adopted being so important for legal reasons, I don't understand that part. Give me one sec. There was this one part where she was sitting in the courtroom and she was with Antoine Mans, right? And there was like another attorney, I think it was her attorney or something, and she wanted the adoption. I need to understand, why was that adoption so important for her at that time? Because they made it sound like they needed it for um what's the word, for legal reasons. If she wanted to go out legally for, to the Barnetts, if she wanted to pursue different things. I didn't understand the reason why the adoption was important, other than it being a very important emotional thing for her, a familial thing for her. Like it was something that she wanted. But in the grand scheme of things, given that she is 22, was that really important at that moment? Does that make sense? I don't know if it did. Neat Noodle says, my adopted daughter has RADS. It's very tough. It is, Neat Noodle. And shout out to you for sharing, because I've seen it. I know what RADS looks like, and it's very, I feel for the parents because it is a trial and error thing. You got to be there for your kid. And sometimes it works and certain techniques work, and it's an ongoing life thing. Where are the trauma informed voices? All of her behaviors are explained through complex PTSD lens. I hate that people sexualize her symptoms. I would agree with you on that, Lulu. I feel like the majority of the people in that docuseries, especially the neighbors, everybody just saw sex, 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 sex. Well, she did this and she propositioned this, and she did. Had they known that she was a minor, yeah, she's a victim of what she shared, right? Which, if you listen to her, it sounds like she had been sexually, something happened to her sexually when she was younger. So yeah, I couldn't get out of that. I didn't understand people not being able to, like, they sensationalize her sexual symptoms. Lulu, thank you for the $5. I couldn't agree with you more. I just don't know how the Mans could say they're done with her when they accepted responsibility when they adopted her. It makes no sense. In the series, I think it was like, I can't remember whether it was the third or fourth. They talked about how the Mans didn't talk about it. It was Barnett's attorney, Terrence, I think that's his name. The attorney, the dad's attorney, Michael Barnett's attorney, talked about how she had bit one of the kids in the man's home or something like that. Something had happened, and they didn't, they were disclosing all this stuff. Like I said, I had a feeling when there's a RADS situation diagnosis going on, it's very hard to adapt to a home with 8 to 11 kids in a household. Okay, very hard. Especially with attention and control and power dynamics. So as soon as I saw that, and we heard about her past, I said, I don't know if this is actually going to work for her. For those that don't know, you can actually look this up. Look up reactive attachment disorder. You can pull it up on the DSM-5, and you can learn a little bit about it. It is a classified reactive attachment disorder as a trauma and stressor-related condition of early childhood caused by social neglect and maltreatment, which are components that Natalia experienced early on in her childhood. Affected children have difficulty forming emotional attachments to others, show a decreased ability to experience positive emotion, cannot seek or accept physical or emotional closeness, and may react violently when held, cuddled, or comforted. Behaviorally affected children are unpredictable, okay? Difficult to console and difficult to discipline. Unpredictable, difficult to console, and difficult and to discipline, okay? Those are three things. And now you imagine, you put the factor in of 8 kids, adopted kids in a household with the RADS kids. Imagine that, okay? It's a recipe for disaster. This is why RADS kids is better. I mean, 1 or 2 siblings, being the only child, to work through some of those attachment things, it would be better to do that. That's why when I saw the Mans, I said this is the biggest red flag. I kind of knew that right away, but didn't say a whole lot because I said, let me watch season 2, and I'm pretty sure that I was right on the money, and I sure as hell was. So their moods fluctuate erratically, and children may seem to live in fight or flight or freeze mode. Most have a strong desire to control their environments and make their own decisions. This is why I understood that family was important for Natalia, but I think for me, I would have advocated for her to build her community supports, right? Have her, if she wanted to remain in the family, that was great, but have her essentially, show her independence, get her out, get her the social emotional supports from the community, get her, maybe a social worker, health worker aide that can come into her house, get her the right environment versus pushing for an adoption right away. I personally would have done that because I think that she would have continued to sustain those supports, but financially, it also makes sense that Natalia be the owner of the money that is rightfully hers, especially if she's not living in the house. And she's also an adult. So independently, we have to work for her to work through those things, right? That would have made a treatment plan to me that would make more sense versus getting her adopted into a home that already has a lot of other children there and kind of going from there. That's just my thought. Excuse me. I gotta clear my throat. So most have a strong desire to control their environment and make their own decisions. The activity describes the evaluation, diagnosis, and management of reactive attachment disorders and stressors, the role of a team-based interprofessional care for affected parents. Okay, Let me go back. So the DSM-5s, the patients demonstrate a chronic patterns of being emotionally withdrawn and inhibited, which is demonstrated by rarely seeking or respond to comfort when distressed. That would be a huge factor in there. Let's see. Let's see. That is one way, but then the Barnetts would have to pay, which they didn't want to pay. That's right. That's a good point. There's a lot of moving parts to this, and not really knowing a whole lot of her like adoption case and understanding what was agreed upon and maintenance fees and stuff like that. I can't really, speak to it, but that was just my thought that kind of left me hanging. Like, I just don't feel like they did a good job in setting her up in her childhood and even now, right now. She does have a GoFundMe for those that want to donate. Natalia does have a GoFundMe. Let me see if I can pull it up. People Magazine actually has it. GoFundMe. Let me see where she's at right now. Hopefully it's the right one, and I hope she doesn't have any I think it's this one. I always get like weirded out about GoFundMes because I never know if it's like the right person. Um, she's raised $7,000 so far. Her goal is 20. She says, I recently moved out and I'm saving money to get my own house so I can have a personal space of my own. And I'm wanting to start my own photography business to create fun and awesome ways to have fun and do what I love, which is taking pictures and creating memories for myself and other people. I'm doing this so I have a fresh start in life as an adult and get past everything that happened in my life. I have a type of dwarfism. It is a form of dwarfism that has many serious issues which often requires surgery. I'll likely have to have major spine surgery or even more surgeries on my legs. The associated cost of these surgeries is in excess of 500,000, which because the specialist does not accept my medical insurance. The first treatment I need is to have my spine corrected. It's a lot. She's gonna need a lot, and yeah, she is the one organizing this. What do you guys think? What do you guys think? Where do you guys land? Where's everybody at? I hope she gets some compensation over it. Like, seriously, Vanessa, if I find out that the Barnetts because I wouldn't be surprised if the Barnetts are getting compensated. Like, why the hell is this clown receiving any money whatsoever? You tell me. This might be my official co-host of the show. Why would anybody pay this clown? I cannot stand this clown. I'm sorry, y'all. I don't know. Um, I don't like asking this, but who were all the children in the man's household after thinking about the necessities for the adoption? I'm wondering if there was a check of stipend or two. I don't know. Kelly Mac, that's a good question, but I'm not really sure. Um, that's a great question though. Pebble says, now I'm confused because I was under the understanding that she had already been donated one house after opening a GoFundMe. Is there a different GoFundMe? This is the GoFundMe from People Magazine. I didn't even know she was donated a house. That Why would she need a house if she's donated a house? Her medical insurance and grant money will cover her expenses. Susie, what grant money did she receive? I'm kind of wondering. They have like 11 kids, Sarah Lynn. This is why I side eye them taking her. I just did not feel like that was the approach. But who am I? Who am I? I don't know what the situation is. I'm just speaking as a person that only watched the documentary. I haven't read the file. I don't know. But yeah. You think they wanted a reality show? Well, okay, so I think this clown would be a reality show TV. I just cannot. I mean, I don't know how the internet does not go ham on this guy because I do not like him. I cannot. Mm-mm. I get it that he was found not guilty, but the jury also wasn't given all the information that it needed. So I think it's bullshit. I think it was an injustice, and I don't like him. And I think it's stupid when he goes. I think it's the second. It was the second season where he's like, "Well, you have a jury that found me not guilty and exonerated me." I'm like, "What the hell are you talking about?" You didn't tell them all the not everything was put out there. Stop. Everything failed for this family. Not only that, but for the Barnett kids too. They failed their own damn children too. Like, what are you talking about? Poor Jacob, to a certain degree. I mean, we don't know what abuse he experienced with these two as well. He's over there living in a basement trying to figure out if he's, a genius or not in Arabic. Like, stop. He didn't even get any book money. And then you have these other two unnamed children in that situation. This is it's bullshit. These people are not victims. I didn't see him or her or any of them as victims. I'm sorry. And how Peter, how is a judge that signed for her to be re-aged, not reprimanded, not removed? I don't understand that. I'd like to know who the judge was. That's what I'd like to know. Anyways, all right, y'all. I'm gonna let you guys go. Thank you for joining me in this review. Y'all say goodbye to Michael over here. Say goodbye, Michael. Bye, Michael. Say bye. Put some tomatoes in the chat for Michael, because we are booing his ass out of this stream right now. Say goodbye to Michael. I think so too. I will give you that. Jacob and the other children. But personally, as far as Christine, as far as this clown, I don't see them as victims. I don't. Tinkle tits. Kick rocks, Michael. Bye, drama queen. Just give me like, bye, drama queen. Oh, yo. Oh my God. Look at you guys. All right, you guys. I will let you guys know if y'all can email me if you have any thoughts on this. I don't think we're going to go live on this again, but unless there's a season 3 and y'all want me to watch it. And I think it was B Tim. Shout out to B Tim who said, Rabbit something. It was in the chat. And then there was other people that were tagging me. And I said, well, now I have to watch it. And then once I watched one episode, I couldn't stop watching the other ones. So it was over by then. All right, y'all. Take care personally. You guys have a great one. I'll see you guys later on. Bye, guys. Bye-bye.